Hello and welcome back to the CodeIgniter series. In the last video you learned what MVC is, and now you're ready to go ahead and start using CodeIgniter. Before we're actually able to use it, we need to download, install, and configure it. So that's what we're going to do in this lesson. Let's go ahead and open up our browser. Once you do that, go to CodeIgniter.com. And on this page you can see download CodeIgniter. You just want to go ahead and download it and place it wherever on your computer. At the time of this recording, it is currently 2.1.0. Once you've downloaded and unzipped CodeIgniter, you're going to notice a few different things. There are 3 different folders and 2 different files included. Most of what you'll be doing is in the application folder, but let's go ahead and look at what these other files are. Index.php is the main file, and that's just the file that's going to be able to direct you to the right controller. License.txt is self-explanatory. The system folder contains everything that makes CodeIgniter actually work, so you don't want to make any changes in here unless you know what you're doing. Most of what you're going to be doing is in the application folder. There's also a user guide folder, and if we go into there and open index.html, you can see it's a standard CodeIgniter user guide. So you can either go here to use the user guide, or at CodeIgniter.com they also have to read the user guide. Their user guide is great. It has great information and it's very easy to access. Now that we understand some of these files and folders, let's go into the application folder. When you get to this folder, you're going to see a lot of other folders. Some of these you won't use on a typical basis, and some you'll use on every project. So the first things that might be obvious are controllers, models, and views. There's also a config folder, and the first thing you want to do when you're setting up a CodeIgniter site is go to the config folder. Let's go ahead and do that. When you get here, there's a lot of different files as well. We're going to go through a few of these. Let's first load config.php. When we get here, there's a few different configurations that we want to enter in ourselves. As you can see, they have base URL. We're actually going to keep that blank because it's going to be automatically populated. If we scroll down, you're going to see encryption key. And you might not always use this on every project, but we're going to use it on the blog that we set up. So it's asking us for an encryption key. Just put whatever you want in here. After you do that, save this and let's load database.php. When you go here, it has typical information. You want to fill in the username, password, and database. Then we're going to load autoload.php. This part might be a little confusing at first, but you'll get used to it more when you start using the libraries and helpers. One thing to keep in mind with CodeIgniter is it has a light footprint compared to other frameworks. One of the reasons why is because you're going to manually load some of the libraries and helpers. One thing we're going to use on every single controller is the database. To go ahead and take advantage of using this database library on every controller, we're going to put it inside of this autoload array. Let's also add session. If we go down to helper, we can see that there's a couple options as well. There's more than what's in the comment, but helpers are basically like libraries, but there's not as much to them. We're going to go ahead and use the URL helper. There's another helper that we'll be using, but I'm going to show you a different way that you can add these. We want to make it so that we can add some of these on just one controller. The reason is because if you're not going to use any of the libraries on every controller, then it may be better to add them manually in each controller. That would make it so your website loads as fast as possible. And CodeIgniter does do caching and it's efficient, and so it's still going to load fast, but if you have a lot of traffic on your site, it's best to just load them in the controllers. Now that we've made these configurations, let's go ahead and load this in the browser. So you're going to either want to upload this to your own web host, or if you're using like a LAMP stack, you know where to go. When you pull up CodeIgniter, if you've done everything correctly, you're going to see Welcome to CodeIgniter, and it gives a little information for you. And you can see where all the HTML is located and where the controller is located. It also tells you if you're using CodeIgniter for the first time, you should check the user guide. I'd highly recommend using the user guide side by side with the video series to get the best grasp of CodeIgniter possible. CodeIgniter really is that simple to get set up. This video went ahead and downloaded, installed, and configured CodeIgniter, and in the next video, we're going to make our first model view and controller. This is where you're actually going to see some of the benefits of CodeIgniter, and you're going to be very interested on using this for all projects.